All right. So I don't know how to cover this type of thing. So I think I will show the question on screen, or they will show it, and I'll summarize Steven's answer. Then I'll talk about if I like the answer and what I think are the best options. Let's see how this goes. By the way, I love all these content creators, and I've spent many, many hours watching and listening to their content. I hope you do the same. Any criticism I levy comes from a place of love for this game that we all love. Okay, so don't take it too hard or be buttheads about it. Guild tools that are native to the game. No need to access external content. Message guild members offline. Player performance data for events. Info like where their property is in the game. I like this answer. Native to the game is important. I think also knowing crafting skills for players would be important. Knowing what players are participating in is what's important. Story arcs cater to high levels and some to a broader level range. Lower level story arc participation feeds up to higher level story arcs. I guess I'm not a fan of this answer. I like that all the levels can interact with story arcs, but this seems very vague. I don't have a great grasp of what that is supposed to look like or what he was trying to get across here. There will be some instance parts of dungeons and raids, but most will be open world. Steven qualifies some areas as higher value in these contested dungeons and raids. The intention of these spaces is to create friction between groups that are hunting in this shared space. Carfin has two areas, the wreckage beneath and the tower. The wreckage is catered to 3 to 5 player groups. The tower is for full parties. 6 total levels, and each can support up to 3 to 4 groups. I don't know how I feel about this answer. This area in particular is super foreign to me. I'm used to going from the start of a dungeon and grinding through to the end of the dungeon. But Steven talks about it like your group will find a spot to hunt in the tower or section and will just grind that area, while other groups in the tower or level find a different section to grind. Will my group be able to kill every boss? Is that even the goal? Like, what's the goal of my group when we run in? Do we find boss 2 and go hunt him until our group gets the gear upgrades we wanted? A side note, I hope there's a way for us to see how many people an area is geared towards. If the wreckage is designed for 3 to 5 players, I want to understand the change in difficulty. I just expect that it's not going to be fun to run in and get killed, and then ask a friend to join, and then we try again, only to then get killed again, and then rinse and repeat until we figure out the right number, right? Tolnar are tribalistic. Not all Tolnar are friendly to each other or other races. They are capable of Metropolis-level civilizations. Love lore questions. I am a role player, and the more I get to learn about the lore, the better. Honestly, though, I did expect that they should be capable of Metropolises, being that we can absolutely make a Tolnar Metropolis, for a node, so I kind of expected that. These secondary archetypes should impact the tank and healing capabilities, the goal being to blur the line a bit between the main class tank and the healer with whatever their secondary choice is. The choice to have one archetype for each tank and healer was informed by the idea that each group should only need one tank or healer. They also don't want another archetype to compete with these archetypes in those roles. I'm initially not super happy with this answer, but the truth is we don't even have a clue what the secondary archetypes will do. But given what I know, I expect that the only viable tank will be a primary archetype tank. I expect that if you try to tank using anything other than a primary tank, you're likely to be extremely suboptimal. Same thing with the cleric and healing. I also like the idea of more than one class being capable of tanking and healing. Like in WoW, you could tank as a warrior or druid. You could heal as a priest, or you could heal as a paladin, I'll say, though, I hope that the secondary choice is so impactful that a tank or cleric secondary could make a viable tank or healer. I'd love to see like a summoner tank being a viable option for tanking in a dungeon, not just having to have a primary tank archetype. And I don't understand the concern for the class gameplay up to 25. I mean, each main archetype is going to have a skill tree to play around with, so I don't think that the lack of the secondary archetype is going to restrict their freedom too much. We also don't know the rate at which we'll level at it. Could be that 1 to 25 could be done quickly, and 25 to 50 takes forever. I also think that not having the secondary choice early is a good thing because it helps people learn their primary archetype before they have to make that other choice. It makes it easier for the player to learn. Options to deter node griefing in the form of hostile resource depletion. Guild Wars and Node Wars are options. He still wants to encourage friction. There's going to be policies that can improve lane management and leans into not having a purple zone where corruption's not accumulated. I did not like this answer. It seems like he danced around the problem, and I didn't hear a good solution to someone antagonistically harvesting node resources. The guild and node war should be a good solution, but alts or players not aligned with the node or guild will still be able to harm the node. The only solution would be to PK the player and gaining corruption, which feels like it's not in the spirit of what corruption's meant to be. So I have an idea. My idea is that the mayor has the ability to name one citizen of the node a sheriff or something. That citizen is allowed to PK players in the node's area of influence without gaining corruption. The idea being that they can chase away the toxic harvesters without accumulating corruption. And this has good counterplay to it because if there's an abuse of power by the sheriff, other nodes can just declare war on the said node. And on top of that, the mayor should also have the ability to take that title away if the sheriff decides to go nuts. It's just a thought. There will be stamina for blocking, sprinting, and dodging for all classes, and there will be skill trees that will improve the way you use these abilities. Love this answer. Honestly, any answer that adds a skill tree is going to get a yes from me. I especially think that it's good that they are universal for all the classes. It seems like the same way that weapon tree works. There are no dialects, but given more time after launch, they could be a thing. Not too much on this answer. I mean, it would be cool if there was identifiable languages, but it's not too important to me. There will be the ability to switch the secondary archetype. There will not be a preview period for the secondary archetype. The intent of changing the secondary is to be a long process. I love this answer. I do not care that much about trialing the secondary archetype, but I love the philosophy around changing the secondary should take a long time. I want the choices I make and my fellow players to make to be meaningful. If you can change your secondary on a whim, it's no longer a meaningful choice. I intend to play a scout. And when you see me in game, I want to be that scout every time you see me. And when I see Bob, the Shadowmancer, I want Bob to still be that Shadowmancer next time I see him. Passives will be given to certain groups in the guild. Stronger passives are given to the players in the core group. Expansion slots create new groups in the guild. The intention being that the core group will get the strongest passives, and that power decreases as the group increases. These passives are things like stat bonuses, crit rate, regen values, and more intricate things like negating a spell attack every 30 seconds or something. I like this answer. I like the way the guild will have groups and that those groups will be granted specific bonuses. I envision like a PvP group and they're working to get their passives in line with like PvP builds, and maybe a PvE group whose passives are catered to PvE content, econ groups in the guild that are, their passives are just purely econ based, stuff like that. Feels like something that's going to need to get tested. I still kind of worried that the power gap created by having more players in a guild will not be reduced enough by these passives. Time to kill, same level, average gear score, takes about 10-15 seconds, maybe 30 depending on the archetypes. Intention being that With a lower time to kill, you increase the skill ceiling due to smaller margin of error. And in group environment, increasing the skill ceiling with regards to organization, given that being outnumbered can be overcome by being more skilled. I like this answer. I agree that shorter time to kill should increase the skill ceiling, and I'm not a fan of 1v1s that take minutes. I do think there's a place for longer 1v1s, but I believe that should happen when there's two very skilled players with very good gear. He didn't specifically talk about group versus group, but given the 1v1 time to kill, I think we can infer from there. Non-economic nodes will have player stalls and player shops. Some shops will be able to be spawned anywhere. I mostly like this answer. I don't know if my immersion is a fan of the player shop being in a dungeon or raid, but I like the economic nodes will be the only nodes that have auction houses. And I like that player shops and stalls are available to the other nodes. Only scientific node for Alpha 2 opening. I'm fine with this answer. Alpha 2 is a temporary thing. It's temporary, guys. Alpha 2 is temporary, everyone. Not everything will be there at Alpha 2 launch, and that is okay. Alpha 2 is going to last a long time. Stuff will be added as they get through their work. It just takes time. Some boss rooms will be instanced. The majority of the encounters can be interrupted. There will be a death debuff that dampens stats. This debuff will stack such that if you kill an interrupting party enough, they will not be able to continue doing so. AI adapts based on what is in front of it and adapts to the number of players. I like and dislike his answers here. I like the talks of interruptions and the death debuff stacking. If you thwart the enemies enough, they can no longer effectively interrupt your encounter. Seems good. But I think he dodged the adaptive AI of the bosses, or he's talked about before about if you beat X boss in X seconds, it sets the difficulty of the next boss based on your performance on the first boss. How can you achieve this when you have two or more groups either attempting to both down the target or fight each other? Wouldn't that skew the results of that AI adaptation? I'm cool with bosses adjusting to what's in front of it, like he answered. That sounds awesome. I think the question was more asking about what that adaptation to the raid's performance is calculated, giving multiple parties interactions. The reward is finite. Not everyone will get a reward for participating. If you reduce the risk, you have to reduce the reward. I love this answer. Easily the best answer so far. There will be clear disincentives to zerging bosses, and that is the chance of getting loot gets less. You start with 40 players working on a boss, you have a set chance of receiving a good piece of gear. Now you add a second rate of 40 to zerg it faster, and your chances of getting that loot drops by half. It's simple. There is not as much of an incentive to zerg. Guild freeholds will have expandable plots for members to access and do what they want with. This answer is great. I think processing is going to be hugely bottlenecked. So I expect that having more options for players to get the processing done is a good thing. Rogues have true stealth, not proximity dependent. And Rogue and the Summoner is not in the start of Alpha 2. They will be in the first update after Alpha 2 release. List of Alpha 2 classes is Tank, Ranger, Fighter, Mage, Bard, and Cleric. This is the answer. Again, I'm not that fussed about something not getting into the release. It's going to get done when it gets done. Though True Stealth is interesting. I may be misunderstanding it, so let me know. But True Stealth is not like WoW Stealth. Rogues and WoW could be seen when close enough, so I'm guessing True Stealth will be stealth no matter how close you are. Crafters can use stations at any node, just that citizens don't have to pay fees to use the crafting station. Citizens also can get benefits to crafting. The answer is the answer. I like that you get a benefit from being a citizen of a node. I'm glad that I'm not locked out of using a crafting station due to citizenship. List of weapons for Alpha 2 is one-handed maces, one-handed swords, wands, spellbooks, longbow, shortbow, two-handed sword, two-handed spear, and dual daggers. Will be other types, but these are going to be the only ones with trees available at Alpha 2 release. All dual weapons will share a dual weapon tree. and shields will not have a weapon tree. But you can improve your shields through other trees, such as the blocking tree. I like this answer. Before I even knew this, I've always loved, my fantasy ranger in my head has always had a longbow and a spear. And I'm totally going to get to go for that now. I think it's smart, too, for there to be a dual tree specifically for dual wielding. And remember, this is just for Alpha 2 launch. There's going to be more fully treed out weapons when the game fully releases. Some people have a better ability to focus essence and stronger effects. Some people have a better ability to focus essence into stronger effects. The players will fall in this category. Everyone will have some attunement, but not all are adept. Some NPCs are above and beyond the player's ability. I love this. I'm glad we, as the players, are not the most powerful in the world. I hate that dynamic. I love Loreforged. If you watch Loreforged, you know I don't like that us all being the Dovahkiin. I don't like that. Okay, I like just being a guy and just trying to do my job. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Like and subscribe to hear me be wrong about more things. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you, subscribe.